The 2025 NFL Draft is just 8 hours away, and if there's one thing we know about Joe Hortiz, it's that he's not afraid to shake things up. The Chargers hold 2 first-round picks, but don't be surprised if at least one of them is on the move. This front office has a history of aggression, and with 10 total picks, the ammunition is there to make a splash. Let's break it all down. What's up, Chargers fans? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Chargers. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This channel is all about breaking down everything you need to know about the Bolts. The Chargers sit at pick 22 and 25 in the first and second round, but history tells us Hortiz might not stay put. Look at Baltimore's track record when picking in this range. 3 times since 2018, they've held the 22nd overall pick, and 3 times they traded back. The only time they stayed? They took Zay Flowers, and that worked out just fine. So, if the board doesn't fall their way, say the top-tier receivers, tight ends, or defensive linemen are gone, expect Hortiz to wheel and deal. Moving back for extra day 2 capital could be the play, especially in a draft where the value might be deeper in rounds 2 to 3 than at the back end of round 1. But here's the other side of the coin. What if there's a player they love still available? What if one of the top-tier talents, a guy like TreVeyon Henderson or Tyler Warren, starts to slide? Don't rule out Hortiz doing the opposite and trading up. Remember last year when they jumped ahead of New England to grab Ladd McConkey? That's the kind of aggression we could see again if the right player's within striking distance. The Chargers don't have a ton of premium picks, just 3 in the top 100. So if they're going to make a move, it has to be for a guy they're absolutely convinced can be a day 1 starter. Let's be real. Hortiz isn't making all of those selections. That's pure trade ammunition. Whether it's bundling a few to move up in the second or third round, or attaching one to a player to facilitate a bigger deal, those late rounders are more valuable as currency than as actual draft picks. Look at last year's class. Kamani Vidal, Brendan Rice, Cornelius Johnson. None of those guys moved the needle as rookies. That's not a knock on them, but it's a reminder that day 3 picks are lottery tickets. If the Chargers can turn a few of them into one higher percentage play, they'll do it in a heartbeat. Now let's talk about positions. Wide receiver is the obvious need. Even after bringing back Mike Williams, this group lacks a true alpha. The Chargers need a guy who can win one-on-one and take pressure off Justin Herbert. The question is, do they address it early or do they wait? If Tetairoa McMillan or Matthew Golden is there at 22, it's a no-brainer. But if the top guys are gone, do they reach the next tier or pivot to another position? That's where things get interesting. Hortiz has never been one to force a pick just to fill a need, so if the value isn't there, they could easily go in another direction and circle back to receiver later. Tight end is another spot to watch. They signed Tyler Conklin, but he's more of a stopgap than a long-term solution. If Tyler Warren somehow falls into the 20s, the Chargers should sprint to the podium. But more realistically, a guy like Harold Fannin Jr. or Gunnar Helm could be in play on day 2. The Chargers haven't invested high draft capital in a tight end since Hunter Henry, and with Herbert's ability to elevate the position, it might be time to finally make that move. Defensively, the focus should be on the front 7. The Chargers need help at edge rusher. Khalil Mack and Bud Dupree aren't getting any younger. And they could use another disruptive interior presence next to Justin Jones. This draft is deep along the defensive line, so don't be surprised if they double dip, especially if they trade back and accumulate extra picks. A name to watch? Jalon Walker. If he's there in the 20s, he'd be a perfect fit for what new defensive coordinator Jesse Minter wants to do. Then there's running back. The Chargers signed Najee Harris, but he's on a 1-year deal. Do they spend a day 2 pick on his eventual replacement? Or do they wait until day 3 and take another flyer on a developmental guy? History says they'll wait. Hortiz comes from a Ravens system that rarely invests early in running backs. But this class is loaded with talent. If Dylan Sampson or RJ Harvey slips into the 3rd round, it might be too good to pass up. The wild card in all of this? Trades involving players, not just picks. The Chargers have been linked to guys like Mark Andrews and Dallas Goedert. And if they don't land a tight end early, don't be shocked if they pivot to a veteran via trade. Hortiz has the draft capital to make it happen, and with Herbert in win-now mode, they might prefer a proven commodity over a rookie. So, what's the bottom line? The Chargers have flexibility, but they also have urgency. They can't afford to whiff on this draft. Not with the Chiefs still dominating the division, not with Herbert entering his prime. So, what's your take? Do the Chargers stay put and take the best player available, or do they make a splash move? And which position should be the priority? Let's hear it.